everyone, welcome to this week's Karma Cards. So let me give you a little energy update about what's happening, because as I've been talking about, we've been in this sort of slow period of reflection, and that's about ready to wind up, and we're about to kick it into drive. So let me explain. Today is January 18th, and it's the day that Mercury stations direct. Now that it's stationing direct, it has this moment where it's sort of like a shadow period where it seems like it's at a standstill. So we're still sort of wrapping up and reviewing the things that we were supposed to sort of mentally reflect on and review and see if we could do things different moving forward. We're still going to be feeling that energy, but it's slowly going to be feeling like things are wrapping up, solidifying, and starting to move forward. Mars stationed direct last week, so that's our sense of taking action, and that's also moving through its little shadow period and already having more forward momentum. So now we're getting the kind of drive and desire to take action on those things that feel in alignment for us. And coming up on Sunday the 22nd, Uranus, which is the plot twist surprise planet, so where we've been sitting in that Uranus retrograde, sort of learning or having aha epiphanies about how things are in our own lives or what's surprising for us in our own life, that energy is going to start being directed outward again, starting with the 22nd. But that's not all. So now, as of Sunday, all planets will be direct. So now we've got a lot of forward momentum coming in. And on Saturday, the 21st, is going to be the new moon in the sign of Aquarius. New moon energy always gives us that spur that we need to get things started. We're going to feel, again, sort of this energized feeling to start something coming this weekend. And so you can see we've got a lot of forward momentum coming, but wait, that's not all. On the 22nd is the Chinese Lunar New Year, and the year of the water rabbit begins. My personal feeling is that starting on Sunday, we're actually going to feel the new year kick in. So let me share with you a little bit about what is the water rabbit. So every zodiac sign in the Chinese zodiac has an elemental energy attached to it depending on the year. Last year was the water tiger. This year we're in the water rabbit. And in Chinese astrology and feng shui, water represents a very yin energy. It's very feminine, it's very intuitive and receptive. And so is this energy we're moving into. The rabbit brings a lot of precision, a lot of detail-oriented thinking, and has the drive to move forward. But when it's a water rabbit, it's very much using intuition as its driving mechanism. That's how it's accessing it. And it's so beautiful because, again, 2023 is a 7-year, which is a very spiritual year. And there's a lot of intuition and spiritual energy co-merging together. The themes are so aligned this year that you're really going to feel a sort of a spiritual awakening. If you're already on a spiritual path, you're going to feel that path deepen in this year. And if you're beginning a spiritual path, it's the perfect time because you're naturally, intuitively being led in this direction. The energy is just pulling you in this direction. And both the 7 and the water rabbit, this yin energy, the water rabbit sometimes called the black rabbit because black is the most yin color, right? So it represents that void. It represents the intuition in the womb. It has a very dense, heavy energy, which is great for rest. It's very much connotating that this is a type of rest is required to move forward. And the 7 says the same thing. It's like you can't overlook the periods of contemplation, meditation, and rest. Those have to be a part of how you move forward. Otherwise, the burnout in this year, the degree of burnout you can experience will be a lot higher. And you'll find that you'll just sort of blow things off if you don't pace yourself. So kind of like Aesop's fable, right, where the rabbit naturally moves really quickly. When it's a water rabbit, it has to pace itself. It has to take things and stay in flow rather than try to speed through anything. And that's really good advice for staying in alignment. The gift of staying in alignment is a deep inner peace, is a highly achievable thing if we stay in this balance of internal reflection, tapping into intuition, then taking action and pacing ourselves. We are gifted inner peace. If we go against that, we're dealing with the anxiety and the burnout, like I said before. So you can see the themes are really developing. But as I said, after the 22nd, I feel like you might actually finally feel like it truly is a new year. So let me know in the comments if you are feeling it, especially if you watch this video after the 22nd of January. Leave me a comment. Did it feel like something shifted for you? Also, before I forget, there is a new moon spirit circle in Aquarius happening on January 21st, where I'm going to go deeper into the themes of what's happening in the sky, what the cosmic message is for us at this time, and the most aligned path for manifesting, as well as psychic Q&A. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, go ahead and check out this link. It's also in the description below, and join us. We'd love to have you there. All right, when I was thinking of a topic for today's video, I was in a very contemplative place, and my team's sort of been like chatting a lot with me about how events are unfolding, how things are going, and they're letting me know that this year is a year of a lot of revelation. A lot will be revealed in the year of 2023, and we're already seeing some of that come to light now, but we're going to experience more and more of that. Part of it is like the bigger plot lines in the external world, but also inner awareness as well is going to come to light. What's interesting about the information that comes forward is it actually brings a lot of clarity and even hope to people. Hope is a part of it. Something starts to feel better, even if the information in and of itself isn't maybe the happiest information, or it's upsetting, disappointing, or shocking even what comes forward. There is this kind of like relief that it's finally out there. It's finally like visible for all to see. So there is sort of a natural energy of like, I thought so. It's like, it's kind of the experience I can kind of relate it to is like, imagine you're in a really toxic relationship where you find out the person's been gaslighting you the whole time. Like you kept thinking something was happening, and every time you tried to confront the situation, you'd get, no, that's not true. You're crazy. You're paranoid, right? And that's gaslighting. And then imagine going from that to going into therapy or getting out of that situation, being able to see the clear picture and getting information from others that either confirms and validates your point of view. And it's like that awareness that that's what I thought was happening, getting that kind of confirmation. It's very much that kind of energy from being gaslit to finally seeing it, which is both, like I said, it's very validating, but also at the same time upsetting. It's like, oh my God, I've been, emotionally, mentally abused this whole time. That's the information that's coming forward on the world stage. That's going to be out there more. With that, like I said, comes a little relief and even some hope. But at the same time, it comes with this, for some people, it's going to come with a large amount of disappointment and denial. Like they're not going to want to see what's in the meat, if you will, right? It's like, I don't know where I'm getting that from. It's like the Where's the Beef commercial of the 70s or something. But it's like, once you find out how the sausage is made, it's like, oh, I thought that. And then you're like, oh my God, it really is like beaks and a-holes, right? It's not good. It's not good. And so with that revelation comes both a relief that you know the truth, and for some being very sick and upset that is the truth. And working through that is part of the karmic process, if you will. So we're getting very close to a very big shift, right? We're getting close to our ascension point, to shifting from 3D fully into 4 and 5D. We're moving planets in an energy at very much a astral plasmic experience where we're going to feel this shift. It is going to happen, and it is the first time that it's ever been attempted, shifting a species from one planet to another. And it sounds pretty wild, and if you're having a hard time believing it, that's okay. There's a lot of material out there. Like I said, Dolores Cannon's material is fabulous. It goes into a lot of detail, as does the Law of One. These are two texts that resonate very strongly for me, and I feel like give a lot of understanding and insight and the how, the how and the why. So I would encourage you to dig deeper if you're interested. If it's not resonant for you, hold it loosely, right? It's your path is not necessarily, does not have to be my path in order for us to connect. But I'm going to share with you the perspective that's most resonant with me. So we're coming up to this point where there is this big shift in energy where we're switching over. Why haven't we done it yet? There's a lot of people out there who are incredibly gifted intuitives who are feeling that this shift is like at our door. And it really is. But when I tapped into my team and I said, why haven't we had it yet? Like, we came really close around the end of December. So, and the energies on the planet are increasing all the time. I post on Instagram, I share from a girl in the universe who posts like daily what the Schumann is doing and what the bow shock around the planet is doing, and the CMEs and solar flares. There's so much activity going on. It's like shockingly wild, and we're all moving through this. And you're probably feeling it. You probably have those ascension symptoms we talk about. So what's that? We're clearing out energies that are not in alignment with this big move that we're doing. And the reason we haven't had this big planetary shift yet is that first we have to resolve karma. We have to resolve karma here. And how can we resolve karma? And I don't mean just individually, because you can definitely do that on your own. But how can we resolve it as a collective if we don't have all the information? It's really hard, right? Because part of what we're going to find out is that not only were we being gaslit for a long time, and I mean a long time, but we were also being manipulated into giving our consent. Because without that consent, these things can't happen. And I've talked about this in previous videos about how the dark timeline group gets our consent, and it's called implied consent, right? So what they do is they'll show us what they're going to do, but they can show it to us out of context, meaning they can put it in movies, in TV shows. You could read about it. You could see a picture that shows you what's going to happen with no context to this is what we plan to do, or this is my plan for life, or, do you agree to this? They don't. They get our agreement by us buying tickets to their movie, or, subscribing to that streaming platform that's going to show the show, right? This is how they get our implied consent. And because even if we're watching it, we didn't say no, we didn't say you can't do that. We didn't try to have it removed or taken down. We just look at it and we go, oh, that's horrible. I don't like that. But it plants the seed and it gives them permission. And it's through that implied consent that they have karmically attached us. We're like accessories to their crime. And even though we are innocent in that, we are still karmically attached. So part of how we clear this karma is by seeing it come to light, by learning this truth, by having the truth revealed. And then the final piece to get out of a karmic loop is forgiveness. It's hard to forgive something that you don't know is happening, though. So it has to be shown and it has to be seen, and we have to have our response to it. And hopefully, as we recognize that we clear it through forgiveness, we can move into that place. And remember, forgiveness is not about agreement. It's not saying this is okay or that you like it. It's simply acknowledging that you want to be done with this karmic cycle. And so you detach yourself or untether yourself from that event through your willingness to forgive. So these are the parts that we're sort of at now. And the faster we move through that as a collective, and again, it doesn't have to be every single person. It's more like a majority, right? More than 51% moving through this would allow us to move into these bigger stages where we can then move forward and experience this amazing shift that we came here for. And I just want to reiterate with you, this is why I have told you in the past that you were hand-selected to be here. Because this moment in time has never been attempted before. When they say the universe is watching, they mean it. We're the most fascinating show in the universe, and probably in multiple universes. This is one of the most fascinating events that has occurred. And so we had to be hand selected for it because we needed to have people here who were strong enough to go through this dark period and could come out on the other side, who were able to, through all the veils we have to go through, the veil of forgetting, the veil of confusion, and the deception that goes around, we had to have a strong enough sense of self, even if it was just a glimmer, a strong enough connection to our own light that it would help guide us through even the darkest parts of this time period. And remember, it is darkest before the dawn. So as things appear to get worse, they're actually moving to the highest frequency, right? And again, my team often shows me, they give me this calendar, and I've seen it before. I think it sometimes gets overlaid on the Mayan calendar, and I don't know if it's the Vedic calendar, but it shows periods in history, and it looks like a circle, and the top arc is the golden age, which is where we're going to. And then under that arc, you've got the silver ages, the bronze age, and the iron age. And the iron age represents the darkest part. And believe it or not, that's where we're coming from. We are ascending upwards, right, through that energy, which means that we agreed we had to be pretty badass in energy to volunteer and agree to come here at a very low density dark point. And when I tuned into this and finally got it, I was like, oh my God, it's like we live in the Middle Ages and we don't even know it, right? Because remember the Middle Ages, or was it the Dark Ages? It's kind of the same, right? Correct me if you know the difference. We'll go with the Dark Ages. It's like the Dark Ages. It's like we didn't know what we didn't know. And that's symbolic of a dark age, is that there is hidden information, hidden knowledge. The consciousness is very low, and people don't know that they don't know. They don't know that there is more to know. And you can tell when we're getting out of it as people start to awaken to the fact that there is, oh my God, knowledge is being hidden right in front of my face. They're like putting it out there and hiding it in plain sight. And I now see it. When you've moved to that point, you know we're moving out of this dark age period. So again, this year, having so much spiritual energy, so much drive to align and balance and connect with something higher, is opening people's consciousness even more. And if you willingly go into it with that, the goal of real alignment on a body, mind, spirit level, your eyes will be open to things that even if you feel they're pretty open now, even more will be shown to you because your consciousness will raise even faster. So the benefit of this time period is new heights of conscious awareness. Now, there is a happy culmination. So after the reveal of massive gaslighting coming forward and people seeing stuff that they didn't know was happening or didn't want to face that was happening, as that gets seen, we move into a period of the end of the karmic cycle, where we can finally get to completion. And this completion energy, it is coming through this year. There's so much planetary support for the transformation of humanity. I am so excited because there are planetary movements this year that have an impact on collectives. And one of them is Pluto transiting into Aquarius, which is the age of Aquarius, which would mean we're moving into the next phase, the next Earth, if you will. It goes into Aquarius for a period of time before it comes back to review what it's got. So what happens collectively is this awareness, a spiritual connection to what is to come. And it's like we need that, and we're going to get that, and it's going to make us want to come back and close this karmic loop. And as we do this, things start to happen. I'm getting chills. Like I got, my whole legs are like, woo, chilly. So I just wanted to share these insights with you. Because even though we're going to have to collectively experience, the awareness of being in a type of abusive relationship with those that are in power, we're actually going to start to feel our power return. And some of you are already stepping into your sovereignty and claiming that already. And that is awesome. Keep doing it. It helps everyone more than you know. But we're going to get to see people have this opportunity to step back into their power. And the more of us that does it, the faster this whole thing goes. So I actually have a lot of positive feelings about 2023. Again, I don't know what surprises it has to show us, but as I read that energetic experience, right, the hardest part is going to be confronted by, oh my God, I've been abused. Now I see it. I see that. And the understanding that just because that's true, it doesn't mean there's no hope. There's actually a lot of hope, and there's actually a lot that can be done. I don't see a sad, dark end for things. I see actually a whole bunch of eyes open, hearts lifting, and us moving up and out of this cycle. It's always darkest before the dawn, right? If you know that, and you feel like it's a dark moment, hold on, because this is when the light is the most potent, right? So with that, I'd love to do this week's karma cards with you. If you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how they work. I have 3 sets of cards here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what's the message you have for us this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune into that beautiful intuition of yours and decide, what do you need this week? Are you looking for action related answers or outcome related answers? And of course, you can always choose both. While you're deciding, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for January 18th through the 25th. So we'll be on the other side of that sort of energetic shift into drive. And the flavor of this reading. Okay, we got a double house again. That happened to us once before. Well, it's back again. We've got the planet Pluto, which is the one I was just talking about. This is a planet that rules collectively, right? It's an outer planet, so it has an effect on the collective. And it's about what is blocking you from your power or what's empowering you. So it's often called the purge or power planet, because it'll either clear out the things you need to clear out, or it'll empower you. Either way, it empowers you, but one way is easier than another. In the sign of Pisces, Pisces being about our intuition, our ideals, and our relationship to spirit. And then we've got 2 houses activated, which is really interesting because they do work well together. They're both earth houses. We've got the 2nd house, which is ruled by Taurus, which is all about our values, money, and the work that we do. And then we've got the 10th house activated, which is also about the work we do. This is about more like how we feel about it. And this is more about what we put out there. So the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn, and that oftentimes has to do with what you're putting out in the world. And many times your career is connected to it. For those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to resurrect your dreams patiently and responsibly. I feel like the word resurrect here is a very interesting choice, because here we are in 2023. Many people have told me that they feel like it hasn't happened yet, like 2023 hasn't happened yet. And I've noticed a trend in like people talking about don't set goals. Goals are toxic. I don't agree with that at all, by the way. I think that pushing and hustling can be very unhealthy for you, but goals are how you know what path to take forward in life. You need to give yourself a guiding light, a guiding star, and that's what goals can give you. So it's asking you to resurrect your dreams. Like, okay, you've been contemplating now it's time to come with those dreams, those goals, those things that you are, what's your North Star, what you're heading for. And again, patiently and responsibly. So this isn't about going, oh crap, I better get things into gear and I better get these goals down. It's like, no, a little at a time. Like, gather that energy back in that you've got, feel into your sense of drive. Consider what you've reviewed and what you want moving forward in your life. And figure out what's the most aligned way, aligned being the key word, for you to move forward with those. That's what we're doing right now. Mental action at this time. Get to the heart of your idealization of what you want and success. So this one is interesting because getting to the heart of what you want and success, your idealization of it, right, is, are you focused on your goal or are you focused on an outcome? Very different energy. A goal is something that you are, like I said, it's a guiding star. It's like, I know I'm going to get there eventually. And to do that, these are the steps I want. Whereas outcomes, they're like, these are the things that I expect to have. One, you have more control over than the other. You have more control over what inspires you and guides you and lights you up and makes you want to walk the path. That's your goal. An outcome is like, I want to make this much money by the end of the year, or I want to get, I want to be in this type of relationship by the end of the year. That's, what happens when we make the outcome the goal is we don't appreciate everything that came on the journey there, right? Because we're so focused on this one thing that's going to happen that if we get to the end of the year, let's say, and it hasn't happened, then you can turn around and go, well, that was a crap year. Nothing went my way, which may or may not be true. Many times it's not. Many times there was a lot of wonderful things that you picked up on your journey, but if you're so focused on a specific outcome, you miss it. Whereas if the goal is to grow yourself, to be able to earn a certain amount of money, then everything that you do that feels like traction and forward momentum, you're appreciating. So again, they're asking us to face it. Are you setting a goal or are you setting an outcome? And see if you can hold outcomes lightly. It doesn't mean you can't want that outcome. It just means you recognize, I don't have control over that. What I do have control is over what I feel inspired by and what I want to move to. That's a goal. Physical action at this time, do or die. You must be a part of something overwhelming and get what you need and become a person of power and status. So we already, this very much ties into the whole thing I was talking about before. We are a part of something overwhelming already. It's more like get conscious that you're a part of something overwhelming, and that is this giant shift that's coming, and you're a key player in this shift. To get what you need and become a person of power and status. So we all, our needs are going to be individual or different at this time. So consider the goal that I was just talking about. What's that going to give you? Whatever that's going to give you might be that thing you want or need. And becoming a person of power and status in this instance is stepping into your sovereignty, being self-governed, having that autonomy that I was talking about earlier, where you recognize that no matter what's happened or who's played you in any way, they only had power over you because you gave it to them. They only had the influence and the ability to do it because you unknowingly gave over your power because you thought you had to. So it's coming into that awareness and recognizing that, by simply recognizing that you're here to hold light in whatever way you are inspired to do so. That's how you're part of something overwhelming that will meet your needs, and it will help you step into your sovereignty. All right, now let's look at outcomes for Pluto in Pisces in the 2nd and 10th house. Spiritual outcome at this time is the need for control of spirituality to ultimately experience your beliefs and your destiny. Wow. Wow. Maybe tapping into this energy that I've been talking about today ramps up that desire to want to take the power back. I need to control this. I need to have this in my sphere. So notice it was the control of spirituality. And this is interesting because Pluto it's a control type, it's a power planet, right? So, but that move to control isn't necessarily in alignment with the flow of energy. The flow of energy of this year is to allow, to embrace, to magnetize, to let in. So it's letting us know that during this period, as we're processing this information or whatever other information comes in our way, we're going to want to sort of like stand up and stamp it down or take it or say, we want to have control. That's the feeling that's going to come forward. My advice would be to try to soften it, to allow it to come forward. So whenever we're sort of squeezing an energy, it's sort of like taking a garden hose and gathering it up and squeezing the tube, right? What happens when you bend a garden hose and then squeeze it? You cut off the flow. So that's like control. We're not going to get a lot of mojo or flow energy if we do that. So we have to relax and allow, and then it all flows. It flows so freely. So even though there's going to be an urge to squeeze the hose, but we're going to have to relax and realize the more I relax into it and allow, the more of it I receive. The mental outcome at this time is an obsession with trusting your psychic knowledge of what you value and where you are going. So again, there's a strong urge to tap in to energy right now. And again, really like you're going to get more psychic hits the more spiritual energy you open. The more you open your channels of spiritual energy, the more you are tuning in to your non-physical senses, which are your psychic senses. So you're going to get tastes of that a lot this year. A lot of people's psychic ability might actually increase in the year of 2023. It's interesting because the only way to do it is to relax. I tell this to my students that I work with intuition. You've got to relax. You've got to like detach from outcomes. And so what this is saying is Pluto is letting us know it's hard to relax. It's like I'm getting a hit and I want more. And now it's like, how do I get more? But you notice that there's sort of a frenetic energy in that obsession and control, right? It's really graspy and tight and forceful. So that's how we're going to be feeling about it. But the actions that are best for us is to relax into it, to detach. It's like when you get obsessed with something like psychic abilities, right? Let's say you tap in and you get something and you're like, wow, that's amazing. I want to see more. I want more of that. And it's easy to sort of throw yourself into it. But there is an eagerness in the energy, which is, I've definitely been there. The problem is that eagerness and that need is an attachment. And when we have that attachment, we are again squeezing that garden hose, cutting off the thing we want the most. We are using like an energy of desperation and demand to get it. And it's just it's what you're doing is you're closing this huge funnel to receive when you relax into a tiny band. It's like, in fact, I call it spiritual Wi-Fi, right? Like think about the little Wi-Fi signal. You want it as high, as wide as that signal can go. You want all the bands lit up, and that means you've got a great reception. That's like you. But when you are in a state of obsession or I need to control, or I need to get more, it's like you lose the signal. You got a very weak signal. Not a lot can come through. Something can come through, but not a lot. And so when that happens, people tend to double down on, I'm going to try harder. I'm going to really concentrate. They can put themselves into quite an uncomfortable state when all they ever had to do was release the need for it and relax and practice detachment. And then it's like they get full bars again, and they open up the funnel, and all that information, all that energy can come pouring in. Physical outcome at this time, a power struggle resulting from the indecision of or about your resources and your career, or we could say what you put out in the world. So again, there's this type of grasping energy that's coming through in this next week. And I would really encourage you to, if you feel it, if you feel this need to, like, now things need to get going, or now I need to have a sense of strong direction because you're feeling that new energy coming in, you still want to try and relax through it. It's like the best action at this time is to really breathe and be still. It's like they're showing me this sense of like being in, I used to be on a swim team when I was in high school for a short amount of time, but I remember we'd be up on the blocks and poised and ready to go into the pool, and you're waiting for the gun to go off. And the reaction to that would be to jump in the pool and start swimming as hard as you can. But they're saying that's not the most aligned action. So even though you're sitting there poised and ready to go, like raring to go, when the gun goes off, they're asking you to remain poised. That doesn't mean still. It doesn't mean you take no action. It just means you remain poised and focused. And it's in this next week might be very hard because it's like the energy surge coming through you may be intense and may make you want to swim like you've never swam before, or go at it like you've never had before. The problem with that energy is it promises to be confusing. It promises to be chaotic as well. And so, again, before jumping into the pool, think about what the goal is. Focus in on your own plan and recognize you've got plenty of time. You've got plenty of time. This year is the year of magnetic energy. So all we have to do is calm the mind, get present in the body, and connect to that spirit. And it's like things come easier that way. And so the temptation is to do it in a more frenetic way. The goal is to stay poised. And with that, I really hope you have an amazing week. Mwah.